Boris Johnson tells Sky News that the allegations against him are total nonsense. What do you think? Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here, with exclusive from Sky News. Boris Johnson tells Sky News the new allegations of lockdown rule breaking are total nonsense. The former Prime Minister was confronted by Sky News about the allegations that he made his way to an airport following a brief tour of the US. He has insisted the fresh claims that he broke lockdown rules are total nonsense and that elements of his ministerial diary were cherry-picked and handed to the police. Right, sure they were, Boris, sure they were. I mean, I still have to say the word allegations because nothing's been certain, but my God, the overwhelming evidence against the former Prime Minister is extraordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. And yet, still he's just able to go about his business. It's absolutely insane, really, the more you think about it. And people think it's a case of him being targeted, and it's that he's been a victim of some sorts, and yet he's blatantly lied on numerous occasions, and people think that this is okay, it's okay to lie. It's not. You're setting a bad example. The former Prime Minister was confronted by Sky News about the allegations as he made his way through the Dulles International Airport in Washington following a brief tour of the US. Asked if he broke the rules, he was asked by US Sky correspondent James Matthews, "The whole thing is a bunch of nonsense from beginning to end. I think it's ridiculous that elements in my diary should be cherry-picked and handed over to police, to the Privilege Committee, without even anybody having the basic common sense to ask me what these entries referred to." That's nonsense because he knows, and he was being warned ahead of time. So he knew that there would be evidence taken from him. Mr Johnson was referred to the police by the Cabinet Office on Wednesday over events in Chequers and Downing Street following a review of his official diaries as part of the official COVID inquiry. Pressed on whether his entries would show him mingling with friends, Mr Johnson insists that is absolutely not what these entry diaries show. He said, "I just think it's total nonsense and bizarre that there are tens of thousands of entries in the Prime Minister's diary. I've never seen these things before. I've looked through it. None of them can constitute a breach of the rules during COVID. They weren't during lockdown. They were during periods of the restrictions. None of them constitute a breach of the rules. None of them involve socialising. It is total nonsense." It's very hard to believe him given his history. You know, when you've lied before, it's very hard to believe that you're not going to lie again. That's the problem. Mr Johnson has previously said he believes he's a victim of particularly politically motivated stitch-up and ditched the government's appointed lawyers in representing him in the COVID-19 public inquiry following his police referral. He would not be drawn on to who was stitching up, but he said, "Someone somewhere thinks it's sensible to do this. I don't." However, a Labour source says if Boris Johnson is confident he has acted with propriety, then he has nothing to fear from scrutiny. Exactly. What are you worried about then? If you've done nothing wrong, then what is the problem? That's the best way to put it. Mr Johnson has already been fined by the Met Police for breaking lockdown rules and is currently being investigated by the Privilege Committee over whether he lied to Parliament over his repeated Partygate denials. See, he's already been fined for breaking lockdown rules, if you haven't already forgotten that. On Friday night, the committee confirmed it had received new evidence from the government that had written to Mr Johnson for a response. A spokesperson said the committee will take this evidence and Mr Johnson's response into account when considering the final report. The committee is making progress with this inquiry explicitly. The latest developments have turned attention back to the Partygate controversy, which played a major role in the former Prime Minister's downfall. He was in the US on Wednesday when news broke during his tour met former President Donald Trump. Johnson met Trump to talk about Ukraine. Yeah, sure they were. Early on Friday, Mr. Johnson spoke and said the purpose was to discuss the situation in Ukraine and the vital importance of Ukraine's victory. It's not clear where the meeting took place, but during his US visit, Mr. Johnson stopped off in both Texas and Las Vegas. The two leaders had known each other for many years and worked together when Trump was US president and Mr. Johnson was in charge of Downing Street. Mr. Trump was spoken highly of Mr. Johnson earlier this month, calling him a wonderful guy and a friend of mine. Yeah, you two are like two peas in the pot. You really do go together, don't you two? Is there anything really more I need to add to this story? Not really. No. So he says it's all nonsense, guys. What do you honestly think? I'm not. I'm very skeptical. I mean, the problem is that he has been proven to have been a liar already beforehand, and that's the problem. I mean, how can anyone take this man seriously when you've already proven to be an elaborate liar on numerous occasions, and you've been fined for breaking lockdown rules already? It's, you know, it's very hard to buy this at all. And this, he's just, the story and him just does not appear to be going away in any way, shape or form. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys very, very soon.